Hi, I'm Dan Lynch. Join me for Floss Weekly as we talk to Michael Proper and David Loper about ClearOS. That's coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Floss Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Floss Weekly, episode 168, recorded Wednesday the 1st of June, 2011. ClearOS. Hello and welcome to another episode of Floss Weekly. As you may be able to tell, I'm not your regular host. Unfortunately, Randall Swartz was due to be here today, but he's not feeling very well. He's been coughing and he's got a bit of a sore throat as well, and unfortunately he couldn't make it, so you're stuck with me. My name's Dan Lynch. You may have heard me before on Floss Weekly, so hopefully we're old friends by now. So yeah, we wish Randall all the best. Obviously, I hope he's going to feel better very soon. He should be back next week, all being well. So I'm flying solo today as well, so there's no co-host. So I'm going to have to kind of have a conversation with myself, which unfortunately is something I seem to do quite a lot. Anyway, so we've got a great guest for you today. We're going to talk to Michael Proper, who's the CEO of ClearCenter, and also David Loper, who is the president of Clear Foundation, which are related entities, if you like. And we're going to talk about ClearOS and all the other stuff that they do. ClearOS is a open source network gateway solution. It does content filtering, firewalls, all of that kind of stuff, but it can also do things like file manager, file serving, and web servers and all that kind of stuff. And it's based on Red Hat and Centos, which is something I'm keen to ask them about as well, because there's a lot of uproar about Centos in the community at the moment. So they're going to come on, they're going to tell us all about what you can get out of it, how ClearCenter relates to all this, how the business model works with that. It should be a really interesting show. So let's go ahead and bring on our guests. We're joined today by Michael Proper, who is the CEO of ClearCenter, and David Loper, who is the president of Clear Foundation. How are you doing, guys?
Life's great.
Very good.
Cool. And I suppose we should take it in turns. So where are we speaking to you from? Are you in the same place, or are you in different offices, or what?
We're in a same office facility building, so to speak, based in Utah.
Ah, cool, nice. So I'm based in Liverpool in England, as we said, so we're getting a bit of transatlantic action here, so that's very cool. So I gave a quick roundup of what ClearCenter and all that kind of stuff is in the intro, but I never do as good a job of it as the people who actually know what they're talking about. So I suppose we'll start with you, Michael, if that's okay. Can you tell us what ClearCenter is and what ClearOS is and how it all kind of relates to each other?
ClearOS is basically a Linux distribution that is focused on small, medium-type environments as well as distributed enterprise, really simplifying all of the different devices that are currently needed, firewall, router, intrusion detection systems, etc. But really focused on smaller distributed type environments. And we basically, here at ClearCenter, we build products that are around it. So hardware or supports or cloud-based services or cloud-based apps.
Cool. And you're CEO of ClearCenter, so can you tell us a little bit about what that kind of involves and how you came to be involved with it all?
CEO basically means I really serve everyone that's here and make sure that we've got clear vision and objectives and paths are cleared so that everybody can do their job, basically. Come to be involved in it primarily from a history that I had. Started a business back in 2000 that was focused in the managed service provider sector and really started implementing IT for organizations, small distributed environments. Grew it for about 9-10 years and really saw a better way instead of implementing or managing multiple different disparate systems. Really found a simpler app. It was originally with a company named Point Clark Network, which also was started in 2000, met up with them in 2005. And basically in 2009 decided to hang a shingle and really focus on growing the awareness and adoption of that distribution, such it's very powerful, simple web-based interface, usability, easeability to add applications and really scale a service provider business, but more so, drive out a lot of the costs and complexities around deploying what we today know as IT on-premise. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it sounds good. So I should bring David in because I don't want to neglect him. I feel he's been left out of this. So David, you are the president of Clear Foundation. So can you tell us what Clear Foundation is and how that kind of relates to Clear Center and all of the rest of the stuff?
Clear Foundation is an organization that's dedicated to making sure that homes, businesses have a secure IT environment, and that the code that we use to do that is defended and protected from people that would try to limit people's ability to have choice or control of their own systems. And so we take on open source components that make ClearOS a better offering and a better product. So my role in the foundation is to make sure that we have good interaction with the user community, that we have organized development and progress in the Linux distribution itself. And so that's kind of the goal of Clear Foundation. Clear Foundation accepts most of the source code that we get comes from individuals that are contributing to, for instance, one of the open source applications that we have is a L7 protocol filter. That project was languishing a couple of years ago. The people that started it were fantastic, but they had other priorities, and so we volunteered to step up and to take on that project. We have our biggest project is ClearOS, which is a Linux distribution that's dedicated to making IT simple for homes and businesses, and that's my role.
Excellent. And when I was doing my research for this interview, I was looking up your biogs on the website, and I noticed, David, that your job title was listed as VP of Technology. So is that another hat that you wear, or have you changed roles at all?
I am currently employed by Clear Center as their VP of Technology, and I do get to work on some of the hardware that Clear Center puts out. That's primarily my focus within the Clear Center organization, is applying ClearOS to the Clear Center hardware and optimizing it so that it really shines. And so we've got some great new products coming out that we really leverage the hardware and the open source software that's out there to do some pretty amazing things for that's not complex. We take that complexity away.
Yeah, I was looking on your website, and one of the other elements of this kind of whole solution is what you're calling the ClearBox, which is actually a piece of hardware which is tailored to run ClearOS and act as a network management kind of solution. So, can you tell us a little bit about the ClearBox? What kind of hardware is in it, and that kind of thing?
Currently, our ClearBox, we have a 1U rack mount unit. The ClearBox 300 has several different hardware options. One of the things that we've leveraged with the hardware is the ability to work really as a network or a perimeter appliance. This is where it really shines. The box comes with bypass segments that allow you to do some very cool things in regards to failover, or the ability to put it in line. So you can have, for instance, ClearOS acting as your content filtration system that's in line, and the bypass segment keeps it kind of invisible when it's powered off. And when you power it on, it's still bypassing the ClearOS server As soon as the content filter and the proxy server are online and functioning, it's able to kick in the bypass and take control of that, and still act as a bridge, but basically snatch all the traffic out of the air and then filter it and then give it to the client.
Excellent. And we're getting some questions from the chat room as well, and people are asking, how does this compare to something like PFsense or PacketFence and some of the things that we've talked about previously on Floss Weekly?
First of all, I want to give a shout out to PFsense. I really like PFsense as a distribution. They do some very amazing things, and some of the things that they do, we're actually striving to replicate on ClearOS in general. There's some great things that come out of the BSD community that's not always translated over well to the Linux side of things, and PFsense does a really good job of working it as a perimeter gateway. I would say that the biggest difference between, the biggest difference between us and PFsense is PFsense is really focused on the edge of the network as a unified threat management or a border device only, whereas ClearOS is focused on a holistic solution for IT. So, we do things like, file server, database server. We have it comes pre-built with a LAMP stack, so anything that is LAMP oriented just fits right in nicely. Web server or a certificate server, all of those things that you would have on the inside of your network, we also have in ClearOS. And so you can choose to use ClearOS as just your perimeter device, or as an internal server, or as both. If you're a small enough environment, you can just reduce all of your IT down to one box.
Wow, that sounds excellent. So, Michael, if I could switch back to you for a second. I was reading about your plans to move forward with ClearOS, and I believe you're based on Centos and Red Hat, and you're looking to kind of move forward with that. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, that's correct. We are based on CentOS. Historically, actually, back in the days, 2000 to 2004, we're based directly on Red Hat. And then when CentOS came out, we started running basically off of CentOS. Since there's been a 6 to 8 month gap, we've made a decision to go ahead and rebuild direct binaries right from Red Hat, just as CentOS was, and literally go ahead and provide out to the world similar capabilities or exact capabilities as what CentOS was doing. However, have a professional organization behind it that has accountability, whether it's on updating or releases or patches, and it'll be known to the world as ClearOS Core. So.
Excellent. And I know we actually talked to some of the Centos guys on Floss Weekly not too long ago, and unfortunately I know they've been having some problems in the last few months, and lots of people are wondering when their when their Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6 based solution is going to come out, or if it's going to come out, and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like this is a really kind of big topic at the moment. Certainly from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of people based on CentOS right now, serving web hosts and things like that. Lots of web hosts running CentOS or CentOS. So do you think there's some room to kind of move into that market maybe, and hopefully pick up some of the people that are kind of floundering now that CentOS is losing its way a little bit? We've made a strategic direction to make sure that we're stably in that world, and continue to provide the gap that's currently being felt for the long term, as well as provide organizations the ability to basically buy additional elements around it if they so choose to move into the full ClearOS realm, which is basically a web-based interface that intelligently integrates other applications into the environment. But as far as a direct replacement for CentOS, we really desire to work with them and provide resources and help support their efforts, and weren't able to get traction or attention or a desire to really engage there. And so, we literally brought on teammates that have expertise and skill sets.
plan on continuing down that road for the long term. David Loper, Shad Lords, a couple of organizations from, I don't know if you're familiar with the SME community or contribs.org, but there's really a great team that is being assembled and will continue to be assembled to really pick up the pieces where a CentOS has been lost.
Excellent. I think that's a really big thing that people are kind of worrying about at the moment. So sorry, David, were you trying to get in there with something?
Oh no, I mean, yeah, I agree with him 100%. One thing that I just kind of wanted to let you know is that we are actively building those packages. We've started about a month ago, and we put together a build environment that is very powerful, and we've gone through multiple passes of rebuilding our upstream sources. And at this point, we just announced this morning that kind of where our status is with those builds, we've most of the packages that we've built are building just fine, and we've got a large repository of things that look very, very pristine right now. We do have some packages that differ slightly, and so we're in the quality control phase now, and that's publicly viewable, and people can go and see where our what the differences between us and the upstream packages are, and they can help make comments about why a certain package is not building correctly. So we absolutely invite people to be part of our process to build this open source Red Hat replacement and be able to get it out there. Currently, we're building both 6.0 and 6.1. And both of those are up on, those differential packages are both currently on mirror.clearfoundation.com. You can go there and see kind of what the status is, and all of the packages that have 0 bytes difference from the upstream sources, those are good to go, and we'll be posting them soon into our beta mirror site. And we hope to have some stuff very, very soon. As far as the second component to the distribution that we're working on right now is the installer, and we're making great progress for that, for both ClearOS Core and also for ClearOS Enterprise.
Oh, that's very cool. And something that's kind of happened in the last kind of 6 months to a year in the Linux world that I've noticed is that Red Hat have changed the way that they do things a little bit, and they obscured some of the things that they do, which again got them some kind of heat from the community. But there was some speculation this was to make life harder for Unbreakable Linux and some of the other things. And I actually talked to some of the CentOS guys about this at the time. Has that changed anything? Has that made it any harder for you to do what you do in repackaging their software at all?
We haven't noticed any difficulties in building the kernels, and that's particularly what they were focused on, from what I understand. So for us, I don't have anything to compare it to, because we're doing this off of 6.0, and so I don't have any previous experience, rebuilding the 5X set in. But I take that back. We did a run of 5.6, and I don't see anything that's markedly difficult or harder on our end to rebuild those. I think that this may be affecting the Unbreakable Linux, or but if it does, I don't know how. It doesn't seem to be a problem for us.
No worries, no worries. Well, it was quite a difficult question. I thought I'd throw that in because I know it's something that's been quite topical recently. So we're getting some more questions from our IRC chat room as well. Lots of people asking about IPv6 and whether you're ready for IPv6, and will you be able to do transition between V6 and V4? Can you tell us anything about that?
Well, since we're based off of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, the IPv6 support that we have, we gain that from our upstream provider, and Red Hat has, really good IPv6 support. So for ClearOS Core, there's no problem. For ClearOS Enterprise, the IPv6 support is there in the back end. If you drop to command line, you can put in the IPv6 support. But with 6.0, IPv6 wasn't our focus in the front end. Primarily, our focus on the ClearOS Enterprise was getting a new architecture in there. So the architecture that we have for the web-based interface is quite old currently, and if you wanted to create a new module or add some additional functionality, that's been traditionally difficult to do because you had to have quite an intimate knowledge of how ClearOS and its API works. Now we've have an updated architecture based on CodeWeaver that's a lot more streamlined, has a lot more support. It should be easier to rapidly develop additional modules, and that's our goal and focus with the 6.0 series, is to be able to have a marketplace where you can get add-ons. So likely the IPv6 support will be coming, and it will be coming down as an add-on that you can put onto ClearOS if you need that support.
Well, that's very cool, and it brings us on to the delicate subject of making money and keeping things going, which is obviously important. And I'm curious, so maybe we could bring Michael in on this as well. How does ClearCenter make its money? Will it be through paid applications and support and so on?
Yeah, so the marketplace, which we'll be launching with the launch of ClearOS 6.0, will actually enable other third-party line of business vendors, whether it's such as Kaspersky or others that provide value at the network layer, the server layer, etc., or even a cloud-based app layer, to be able to write or integrate directly into ClearOS, so that it's a single, simple user interface for the end user, so to speak. So it's a form of a marketplace that will have an intelligent app creation or service creation that is tightly integrated. That's one area. Other areas such as cloud-based apps or cloud-based services that we currently deliver, remote server backup, content filtration, pattern file updates, intrusion protection, pattern file updates, remote security audits, bandwidth monitoring. These are some illustrations of cloud-based services, in addition to some of the cloud-based applications that will continue to be available. I think it'd be advantageous in the future, probably have a call with Benjamin Chambers, who's helped to build the marketplace, and Peter Baldwin, who has actually helped to build the modularity around how apps can actually be snapped and easily plugged into the new framework. So maybe in the future we can have some of the listeners, pop some questions into them, because that'll be specific on how really the value can be relayed or portrayed.
Yeah, it sounds very cool. So I'm curious. So I'm an application developer, and I think I've got a great application which would be really good for the ClearOS marketplace, or sorry, ClearCenter marketplace. How would I go about getting into that? What kind of technical requirements are there, or do I need to sign up with some kind of developer program or something like that?
So really, we believe that one of the best executed programs for those type of ecosystems is what Google's done, and we have been working with Google for a long time. And you'll really focus on a similar type of marketplace or app store that you would see within the Google ecosystem, such as the Android ecosystem. So imagine, instead of at the phone or cellular PDA type layer, look at it at the server network gateway layer, and that's really where ClearOS fits. And it's really, if you look at the app store or marketplace, I should say, with Google, that's really how you would see ClearOS kind of fit into that realm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And as you say, obviously the Android marketplace is doing very well at the moment, so I think that's a good a good model to follow. So I'm curious who your kind of typical, I don't know if you can tell us this, but how specific you can be, but who your kind of typical customer would be and what their use case is for the solutions that you offer?
So we focus, there's a partner ecosystem that really focuses on the general small business or distributed enterprise that we sell the products through, such as, mortgage, title, manufacturing, construction, banking, real estate, etc., or distributed environments, maybe fast food chains, retail type locations, etc. So those are usually all procured and done through partners, not just in the U.S., but really globally, as majority of our revenues are actually global based or internationally based. And then we actually have specific programs, and we'll continue to launch additional ones throughout the rest of this calendar year, focused on really the education sector, nonprofit sector, and then governmental sector. So imagine hardware, software services combined specifically for those arenas, really at disruptive type pricing and offerings. Not just that, but really the value that they get from it. So we have currently we have, if you focus in on like just the educational sector, there's specific states that have standardized on the platform, and they've got 200, almost 300 deployments. They've been able to realize millions of dollars in savings, millions of dollars in, really, whether you're talking infrastructure or lack of costs that are there, and then they're saving tons. There'll be some case studies that'll be out on actually the ongoing support cost. Really, imagine each school has one device, and that one device runs everything from, multiple internet connections coming in to the ability to have deep integration with Google Apps for the students and faculty, for the ability for content filtration to be easily adopted, whether it's for faculty or for students. Maybe it's local files, maybe it's cloud-based applications, maybe it's integrations with specific line of business apps that help to run the educational world, some of them on-premise, some of them in the cloud. And then, you kind of wrap all this into one hardware device that literally sits at each school. And they're also running things such as phone systems on it, bell systems on it, intercom systems on it, etc. So, if you look at historically, as technology's grown, we've actually adopted multiple hardware platforms with multiple different operating systems from multiple vendors that haven't worked together well. Really, the value that we desire and do play the role in is helping others to really intelligently integrate all of this and do it from an easily distributed standpoint.
It sounds excellent. So to kind of cover a little bit the background of the company and so on, how many kind of people work on this, and where, how does that all kind of come together? How long has the company been running, that kind of stuff?
So we started in the beginning of 2009. Currently, we're a little bit less than 20 employees that are full-time on the project. And then really the mass of the Clear Foundation community, which is 22,000 members and growing. So there's a nice core team. We have a development office in Toronto, team members kind of peppered throughout the U.S., and then headquartered here in just south of Salt Lake City, Utah.
Excellent. Sounds good. So, David, I was curious. You talk about you've already kind of mentioned this, the desire to to relate with the open source projects that you are upstream and to keep a good relationship with that. I was looking on your website, and you have a section called Purposes, and it says one of the statements on the Clear Foundation site is that you list protecting the open source elements of ClearOS as a big part of what you're trying to do, and also maybe incorporating other open source things into ClearOS. So is that important to you guys in what you're doing?
It is, because one of the things that we recognize is that open source, because its basis is more around the philosophy that works are copyrightable, as opposed to software as a patent. Because of that position, you often see open source going head to head, or having some grief because of or potential grief because of some patent type things that may happen, or other types of litigation. And Clear Foundation is it's established, and we've established it actually not in the United States, but in New Zealand, so that because their laws seem to protect open source better than here in the United States. So that's kind of the purpose of Clear Foundation, is to make sure that this software is always free and available, that there's a little bit of defensibility behind it. Certainly we've reached out previously to the Free Software Foundation and other organizations that are kind of in the same camp. I think the difference between us and them is that our focus is really on a specific purpose of making sure that the software is available to small businesses and homes. Typically, it's those environments that are least served by technology. And we want to make sure that this technology, that this powerful open source technology that the world has contributed, is available to them, and that it's not only available to them, but that it's easy to use. Oftentimes, it is quite a daunting task to go to somebody who's not very familiar with computers and say, I want you to, you want to protect your home from, viruses or spam or pornography or what have you, whatever, or hackers. Those types of things are a difficult task for common users because the technologies are very, very different, and so we make it easier for users to do that. And so ClearOS is also used quite a bit in home environments. People will go ahead and replace their Linksys router or their or their edge device, that whatever router they're using, with a ClearOS server, and be able to have the capability of doing the typical things that you would have with a router, but also having the ability to make their server a media server. And ClearOS is designed as such that you can get the functionality with a usable interface. But if you need to get advanced or whatever, you can take those stepping stones. So you can begin by managing everything from the web interface, and then as you progress in your skills, you can learn how to use command line for this or that. And the community is really good about providing good feedback and not telling people that are new to Linux to just RTFM. That's one thing that we don't tolerate on our forums, is that we understand that everybody started somewhere, and that everybody needs a chance to kind of ramp up their skills, and that we're all in the process of learning how to use this software.
Definitely. I mean, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Everybody starts somewhere, as you say. Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it. So you use, as I said, you use a lot of open source components and so on. So I'm curious about how, as say a community developer or something, how could I get involved with, say, ClearOS? Are there repos I can get the code from, and could I send a patch to you? And do you get many patches from people and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we do get patches from people. We do get contributions all the time, and we really appreciate everybody that helps out on the project. The best way to get started with ClearOS is to go to the Clear Foundation forums at www.clearfoundation.com and to join the community. Post any questions that you have. If you are an advanced Linux user and you have some skill and you have some patches that you'd like to submit, or some improvements, sign up on the as a contributor, and send them that way. If you want access to the bug tracker system, and be able to submit a patch that way. All of that's available on the Clear Foundation forums, and through the Clear Foundation site, you can get started there. for most people that end up using ClearOS, they are people that are using them in their homes, or they're starting in their IT business, and maybe they're a strong Windows user and they're looking to cut costs for their clients, and they want to be able to set up a full Microsoft Small Business Server replacement, but just using open source. For that community, the best way to get started is to download the ISO of ClearOS and install it and start running with it. Registration of ClearOS is free, and with that you'll get updates, and that's how you get started. Of course, our code is all open source and stuff, and so if you need to dig into the source RPMs, you can find those on the Clear Foundation site as well.
Excellent. And I've got to say, during the research for this show, I kind of trawled through your websites there, and it's a really impressive, impressive complete set of tools that people can need. There's like developer tab and stuff, on the menu, so you can find out if you're a developer what you want to know and all that. So it's very cool. I was curious. You mentioned about downloading it, installing it on your own hardware. So, I mean, as you say, it is essentially just a Linux distribution. So what kind of hardware can I put this on if I haven't got, say, a ClearBox or something? Is there any specific hardware requirements for it?
Well, the compatibility list, we're based off of Red Hat, and so anything that shows up on the Red Hat compatibility list is going to be compatible. So that's kind of the official list. But in our experience, we found that ClearOS runs on just about any x86 box that's out there. Naturally, there's going to be some difficulties with certain network cards, but typically, if you're going to get started, you're going to want to have probably a machine that's got a gigahertz or more processor and a gig of RAM. That'll allow you to test everything, including the content filter, which can be demanding, especially if you have a large user count, because it's intelligently, other than just going and looking at a site list or a URL list, we incorporate Dan's Guardian, which does a combination of site lists plus context filtering. So it's going to look at the context of words on a site before doing that. So for that system, or if you're going to be using it as a web server, naturally you're going to get greater performance. But typically I recommend a gigahertz processor, a gig of RAM, and a couple of NICs, and that will turn it into a gateway for you, and you can try out all the features on it.
That's cool. So there's a fairly simple barrier to entry then. I'm assuming, like, as you say, home user or somebody who may want to try this out, they could probably get an old beige box that they've got somewhere with reasonable hardware and throw it on there, yeah?
Absolutely, absolutely. Older hardware works fine because it's Linux. It doesn't have a really high requirement for processor just to run the OS. The kernel is still fairly svelte, and you can. It's amazing how junky the hardware is that you can run it on. For my own home, we have about 5 or 6 users typically on my network, and I'm using an old 800 megahertz Lex machine that's got it's got 4 NICs in it, but it doesn't have a lot of power at all, and that's what I use to protect my kids from viruses and things on the internet. So that's. So even if it's lower gear, you could potentially run it. We even were toying around with the idea of having a contest to see what the crappiest hardware was that you could run it on.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that's one of the great things. I'm obviously a Linux advocate, so people expect me to say this, but it is one of the great things about being able to do this with Linux is that you don't need a huge memory footprint or any of that kind of stuff. You can kind of tailor it to what you want. That's very, very cool. So I was curious about, you've are there any kind of proprietary elements in here as well? I know you've got paid, you're saying about the marketplace, you got paid for apps and stuff. So is ClearOS completely 100% open source, or are there proprietary bits in there as well?
ClearOS inherits all the same, typically the licensing that comes from Red Hat. So most of it is GPL2. There's Apache and LGPL and GPL3 components to it, but the distribution that we produce is all open source, and there are components that you can put on there that are proprietary or closed source. For instance, we have how-tos on how to install VMware Server, for instance, and other elements. But those are secondary, and those don't come on the distribution. The distribution itself is all open source.
Excellent, excellent. That's what we like to hear. So, Michael, I was curious. As I mentioned, you have you're going to set up the marketplace. You're going to have paid apps and stuff. So, why would somebody, what's the selling point for, say, the paid version versus the free version to a school or a business or anyone like that? What are they going to get for the paid version, if you like?
Well, so if there's a typical license fee that's behind the paid version, then the normal run-of-the-mill type technology can go ahead and be implemented on the platform if it gets into the App Store marketplace. As far as free-based apps, there's a lot of them that will continue to be free. Just think about it kind of like the Android marketplace, or there's a lot of apps that people can use, never paying for it. But then, there's a line where folks say, we're running this in a production environment. We want to make sure that it's secure and stable, and there's support if we need it. And again, these are for small distributed types environments. And so that's kind of the value add that you would see, whether it's, additional paid apps that are, usually paid. So a good example of that would be instead of using an open source anti-malware type engine, you can use a proprietary paid anti-malware type engine and go ahead and pay for that. And it's a seamless click, and it automatically installs, and it's working with the system natively, so to speak. There are other things such as, let's say, like remote backup. If they want, massive amounts of data stored off-site, as computing continues to mature, you're seeing a cloud-based environment that's emerging along with the historical on-premise base. And really, we want to bridge the gap between how on-premise computing happens for the local network, the local server, if there is one, and the local gateway, so that users can seamlessly, basically have a simple environment to compute in, one, whether it's password management or cloud and on-premise apps management, but then also you would have an administrator of that has a single place to be able to get the types of apps that are local or apps that are in the cloud, so to speak. So imagine an environment where an administrator wants to light up, let's say, instead of running the mail server locally or with an Exchange-based box in the cloud or on-premise, they want to run something like Google Apps. They can literally, it's just a checkbox and run Google Apps for their environment. It's seamless, it's simple, it's integrated. And in some cases, Google Apps is paid for, in some cases it's not. So there's a couple examples.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know I've looked at Google Apps myself. I think it's free for for like non-profits and educational stuff, but not for small businesses and companies and stuff. So that makes great sense. We're getting some chat in the chat room here. We have a question from someone who says, I'm a bit of a noob. They want to know how they can, what's the kind of process for setting this up? They're saying, do I just install the OS and that's it? I don't know. So can you walk us through a little bit the process of, say, you're at home and you want to try this out? Is there anything special, kind of technical knowledge you need to do this?
Well, today you need to know. Okay, you go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So today it's relatively simple. David, why don't you go ahead and fill it? Go ahead, bud.
Okay. So what you do is you grab the ISO and burn it onto a CD, and then you would boot off of that and put it on a dedicated box. Again, if you have 2 NICs in that box, that's going to give you the best experience with ClearOS, because you're going to be able to use it as a gateway. And you install it and boot up. The first time you boot up, you're going to it's going to ask you a couple of questions, and it's going to automatically provision for you the certificate server for the box, and also an Open LDAP directory with a full integration across all the board with all the services into the directory infrastructure. Once you do that, you can register the box with ClearCenter, and what you'll do there is you'll just follow the online wizard, and it will help you set up an account with ClearCenter, and once you have that account, you'll be able to get additional modules and additional functionality. You can set it up, when you're setting it up, you can choose which modules that you want to install, or if you're new, somebody that's new, you can go ahead and install everything. And I would suggest that for somebody that's new, because that's going to give you the chance to play around with all of the different features and be able to see the level of integration that exists on the box. It's up to you whether you turn those services on or not. And the box will set itself up with the external facing NIC being firewalled against the internet, and the internal facing interface is open for your user for LAN-based services like file print and email. And then, just if you have any questions after that, you can go to the user guide. That's at clearcenter.com, or you can post your questions on the Clear Foundation forum. And so that's how you get started.
Excellent, sounds good. So I hope that answers the question for anyone watching or listening who wants to know how to get started with ClearOS. Now I've got to confess, I've put this under the section in my notes, playing devil's advocate, because I've got a little bit of a hardball question for you. It's not too hard, but I'm curious that I mentioned already that we've had a lot of projects on like PFsense and people like that, and it seems to me that there are a lot of in this space, like network gateways and network management and stuff, there seems to be a lot of competing solutions. So how do you stand out? Is that difficult for you guys, having a lot of competition, or does it help you to kind of improve what you do?
Today we're seeing about...
Go ahead, Mike.
Today we're seeing about 120 to 150 new registrations a day. Now, it doesn't count those folks that are just downloading it and trying it and not registering it. And we've enjoyed a strong history of really solid growth, over the years. I would say if you kind of measure the actual register install base, we're much greater as far as current volume, whether you look at other, distributions, et cetera. But, in the end, we've got to figure out how to add real value so that the value exchange is solid, it's stable, it's consistent. And that's why we're focused around building things around, whether it's the server side of it, on the hardware elements, whether it's integrating into cloud-based systems or apps, whether it's helping service providers to be able to leverage this for their business, whether it's helping in ease of usability for the actual IT administrators, et cetera. So it's just an additional value add. We believe that really the future simple IT type environment is going to be based around open source platforms. So the platforms are good, and we welcome other players into the space. And as we continue to innovate and grow, others will be able to leverage that, and vice versa. So it's the model in and of itself is a positive model, and in the end, we've got to add value to be able to have folks desire to be on the platform. So similar to what you're seeing with kind of the Centos reality, one of the commitments and guarantees we'll make is we will continually build out the infrastructure for the platform to be stable and solid, and have a revenue model behind it, so that folks that are really putting their eggs in that basket, they can do it with confidence, leveraging ClearOS.
Yeah, it's very cool. And as I say, that is a slightly difficult question. The reason I asked it is because it must be something that you kind of get a lot. When I mentioned that we're doing a network gateway, someone said to me, "Oh, another one," and it's kind of, I can see that, to kind of answer my own question a little bit, I can see that the kind of the marketplace and the other stuff that you, as you say, and the services and stuff that you're building on top of it is really where the kind of the value is, because the OS itself is, while I'm sure you do lots of great work on it, there are lots of competing ones, and the things that you guys can give kind of uniquely to the customer are the support and the marketplace, obviously, and all these other things and services and so on, which seems very cool. So I've got a kind of not a final question, but to kind of move towards the wrap up, I've got a question for you, Michael. Can you tell us a little bit about what the kind of the future roadmap is for ClearCenter and ClearOS, and what you're planning to do in the future?
So I'll break it into a couple of categories. On the hardware side, you'll see a lower end device that will be called the ClearBox 100 series. There'll be 3 different models of it. One of them will include wireless. You'll also see a generation 2 of the ClearBox 300 series, which is a little bit more powerful and advanced device. And then you'll see ClearBox 200 series, which is focused right around storage-centric. So that's kind of in the hardware world. And you'll also, the biggest advancements that you'll see is really just ClearOS 6.0. We've been working long and hard for this, and hold on just a quick second. And really feel that the advancement for others to be able to build into this modular infrastructure for ClearOS 6.0 is a massive undertaking, as well as improvement. So this release will be a huge release for us, and it will also enable the ClearCenter marketplace, which will be a big advancement for our roadmap. So, there's many other fun things. We believe that ClearOS Core will help to help those that have historically leveraged CentOS. They're looking for more of a stable platform and longevity. So there's some material advancements there. Also, ClearOS Home will be an advancement that you'll see rapidly as well. So, we've been busy for a long time and finally ready to start showing the world some of the details around the progress, but grateful for, the follow and the opportunity to be able to relate to others here in this channel.
Yeah. So I've got to admit, Randall, our usual host, Randall Swartz, is in our chat room, and he's poking me with the Emacs or Vi question that he always likes to ask everyone. So I'll ask you guys in turn. So do you have a preference, Emacs or Vi, as far as text editors go? So Michael, I'll start with you, if that's all right.
I would just defer that to David or to Peter or to Ben or one of the other individuals.
Cool, no problem. So, David, do you have a preference?
Well, I'm a visual person, so I had to go with Vi.
Oh, okay, cool. I suppose, and another quick question that I'll direct to you, David, because Randall likes to ask this one as well, and he's not at all biased. But Perl or Python is the other one he always asks.
My vote's for the pathologically eclectic rubbish lister.
Excellent. Cool. So Randall's now telling me Emacs is visual, but we won't get into that argument now.
Vi stands for visual, so that's the.
So he's pleased with your other answer anyway. So anyway, he's kind of invisibly hosting the show in some way today. So I want to give you a big thanks for coming on, guys. And where can people go to find out more about ClearOS and get involved in what you're doing?
The best place to start is at www.clearfoundation.com. Everything that you need should be available just a few clicks away from there, whether you need to get the download or you want to join the forums or ask some questions. Another place to reach us is on IRC, on irc.freenode.net, and the room is #ClearFoundation.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for joining us, guys. It's been lovely to speak to you, and we'll speak to you again soon.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so that was David Loper from Clear Foundation. He's the president of Clear Foundation, and Michael Proper, who is the CEO of Clear Center. And I thank them for joining me. I thought it was a really interesting interview. And this is the part where usually you discuss it with the co-host. But seeing as I'm flying solo today, I'm kind of have to discuss it with myself, which is all going to be very strange. But I hope you enjoyed the interview. And I urge you to go to clearfoundation.com and download the OS, find out more. And as I said, I don't want to sound too kind of sycophantic, but as I said, I went to their website and it's really, really good. Clearfoundation.com. They've got loads of great resources on there if you're interested in helping with development or just trying it out or getting support or anything like that. So thank you very much to those guys for coming on, and we hope you enjoyed that. So moving on to some kind of housekeeping things that we need to discuss. I've got my notes here, and we've got some upcoming guests. So let's talk about them. Let me see. I'm frantically trying to find them on my list of upcoming guests. So here we go. So next week, June the 8th, Randall should be with us, hopefully. I'm hoping he'll feel better by then. And he'll be joined by Simon Phipps. And they're going to talk to, let me see if I can get this name right, Koshuke Kawagachi. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I apologize if I've got it totally wrong. They're going to be talking about Jenkins, which is the leading open source continuous integration server. It's built with Java, and it provides over 300 plugins to support building and testing virtually any project. And as you can probably tell from that, I did take that bit of text from their website. But yeah, it sounds very, very cool. So join Simon and Randall for that one. Following that, on June the 15th, Wednesday, June the 15th, Randall will be joined by Randy Harper, and they're going to talk about a subject which is very close to Randall's heart, which is Perl, obviously, and Strawberry Perl. They'll be talking to Curtis Jewell about that. Following that, on June the 22nd, we're going to have my good friend Bradley Kuhn from the Software Freedom Conservancy, and also he's former executive director of the FSF. Real kind of software freedom proponent, and a very interesting guy as well. So I think I may be back for that one, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But it doesn't matter, whoever it is, it'll be a great show. So come and join us for that one on June the 22nd. And if you go to twit.tv/floss, you can find there's a link there to the spreadsheet which shows you all of our upcoming guests. And if there's something you think should be on there, or a project you want to hear about, and you want us to try and get them on to talk about it, the best thing to do is to get the project leader, if you can, to email Randall. And Randall's address is merlin@stonehenge.com. That's Merlin, MERLYN, @stonehenge.com. And that's the fastest way to get to the top of the list, of the upcoming guests list. And Randall's actually been very busy setting up new things for Floss Weekly, which is great. There's now a Twitter account, which is @FlossWeekly on Twitter. If you want to follow that, please do. You can find it on Twitter. And he's also set up Posterous, which I've used for a while. It's an interesting little web service where you can kind of favorite things on the web, and you can post little short blog posts and things, and repost other things, and all that kind of social media stuff. And it will fire it through to Twitter, and you'll get it via that @Floss Weekly Twitter account. So there's all kinds of exciting stuff going on here at Floss Weekly, and keep an eye on that, as I say, via Twitter and all the other kind of places. And don't forget, if you want to join in with the live recording of this show, and you want to chat away in the chat room while we're doing it, it's at 9:30 Pacific time. That's 9:30 in the morning Pacific time. And you can find us via live.twit.tv, which is where you can see the show, watch us doing this, and listen to it, obviously. And there's a chat room as well. If you go to twit.tv, you'll find instructions on there on how to get into the chat room. It's an IRC chat room, and the name is #TwitLive or #TwitLive if you prefer. I know us British people kind of tend to say things differently, so I'll stick to #TwitLive if you want to get in there and talk to other people as we're listening, and ask questions as well. As I said, as you saw today, there was questions coming in from the chat room as we went along, which is very cool. So if you want to find out anything more about what I'm up to, I'm going to be heading to the Red Hat Partner Summit in Dublin this weekend, which is very cool. I'm going to go over and see the guys over there in Dublin, and I'm actually going to be playing music for them, which is quite strange. They've asked me to take my guitar, which is nice, and I'm also going to be interviewing the CEO of Red Hat, Jim Whitehurst, and I'm going to be interviewing all the kind of the top brass of Red Hat. They've asked for someone to come along and do sound engineering for them, and generally do all kinds of things, like, as I say, provide music and interviews and so on. So hopefully we'll have that audio for you on Linux Outlaws, which is my weekly Linux podcast, Linux and open source podcast. So you'll find out more about that there. And of course, don't forget to come back and check us out for another Floss Weekly. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully Randall will be feeling better very soon, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.